Hello again there folks, Lone Adventurer here. Thank you very much for stumbling your way upon my channel and joining me for a brand new game design video. Now before I get to the game design stuff, I am going to talk about the giveaway that I have been running from my end of 2024 review video. So that is officially closed now, and I have some winners picked out from those who commented on the video. But even before I do that, I want to have a super boring, brief comment about my new table that I've got here. I am a creature of habit, so sitting at a new table and at a new angle in the room where I record these videos is a little bit disconcerting for me. There was reasons why we wanted to put a new table in our games room, and we've gone for this one, and one of the reasons is because it folds down, so when I'm not recording or when we're not playing in here, which is not very often, then it can be folded down and the room can be used for other things. Now I think the table looks quite nice on camera, but that being said, I do have the divide there where the table folds down. Being a bit of a perfectionist, I mean, you might not believe it, but I am. I haven't quite decided whether that's going to bug me yet. Does it bug you? I'm considering buying a piece of cloth to go over the entire table while I'm filming, and maybe that'd be better. I mean, if you care, comment and let me know. But I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, because it's just my table, and why would you care? So that's the table. Second thing. There was another thing. Sorry, I forgot there was another thing. I got sent the new version of Doom Pilgrim. Actually, let me get it. Here it is, Doom Pilgrim Pocket Edition from Walklaw Games. And when Walklaw sent this to me, he very kindly also sent me a nice playmat. I'm not going to have this on the table all the time, but I just thought that since I just received it, it might be nice to have it there. So we've got a classic Doom Pilgrim style painting here with some beasties in the foreground looking on at the heroic figure, and a couple of structures in the background there. It's super cool. Right, let's talk about the giveaway, shall we? I've picked 3 people out, and the 3 people who I have selected at random are going to receive my games and a few games from Head Cheese Productions. So the games from Head Cheese Productions will be Escape the Zone. These will be digital copies that you receive, by the way. But Escape the Zone, which is a game in which you are going into an exclusion zone and trying to complete various missions and get out alive. And Luchador Hero, which is a solo crime-fighting game in which you play luchador wrestlers from Mexico. I think this game deserves a lot more love than it gets. It presents a very accessible solo experience, but it's quite different to other things that I have come across. So yeah, I'll include links to playthroughs for these games down in the description below. So it'll be Escape the Zone, Luchador Hero, another game from Head Cheese called Sandworm, which I have a map in that I drew. And then it'll be my games, Village Emporium and New York Zombies. So those are the games that are going to be in the giveaway. And I will put the names of the winners up on the screen now. And they are Christian Martinez 7769, Evan Dierker 2272 and VF308. Those are the 3 winners. Thank you very much for commenting on my videos. Thanks really to all of you for commenting on my videos, because it does help boost the videos in the algorithm and get my content out to more people. And yeah, I appreciate that. So congratulations to those 3. If you get in contact with me, I think the best way to do that is probably by emailing me at loneadventurerplays@gmail.com, and you can find that email address in the About section for the Lone Adventurer channel. Get in contact and I'll send you the itch keys so you can access those games. Alright, so on to the main bit of this video, which is a game design update. The way things have been going last year, or the second half of last year, so I started working on what is, for me, a fairly ambitious fantasy set, quests and monsters sort of adventure game. I worked on that for a little bit and progressed the rules that I had quite far, but as with the other games that I've been working on, I set myself fairly ambitious targets in terms of table content. So far, the games that I have been working on are of the sort that provide most of the flavour and experiences that the player will have right there in the game. So these aren't games that require oracles and require a significant amount of like upfront creativity from the players. Everything is right there. And so that fantasy game proved quite ambitious, and I sort of bounced off it a little bit and stopped doing stuff. I then got excited about the idea of making an expanded version of New York Zombies, and I made quite a bit of progress with that as well. And once again, increasing the number of tables, increasing the content of the tables, stuff like that. And I did quite well with that actually, and I was doing that until quite recently. But during that time, I had been thinking about doing just a little bonus for Village Emporium, like a couple of tables that would make the game more challenging. And as I was thinking about this, I had an idea, not the most imaginative idea, I will grant you, for a way to unify elements that will make the game more challenging, and that is the presence of orcs near the village. And rather release this as a little bonus table in the main Village Emporium game on Itch and Drive-Thru RPG, I've decided to create a little expansion to the game. I'm not sure how I'm going to release it yet, whether it's going to be a separate thing or I'll bundle them together. I don't really know, but it certainly will be very affordable. So this is the original Village Emporium I've got here. Since you've last seen it, I've made some small visual changes. The font has changed. I found a bundle of fonts on itch.io that gives you loads and loads of fonts for a very reasonable price. It is fantastic. I can't remember the name of the bundle right now, but I'll include a link down in the description below if you're looking for fonts. And I also made this little Village Emporium splash image title thing that I've been using in marketing and on the Drive-Thru RPG page and stuff like that, so I dropped that in there as well. So that is that. That's the original tables, the main tables. Where does it start? There it starts. This here is my new Village Emporium Orc Raiders rules. So this is the rule document for the expansion, obviously not yet formatted particularly well. My printer has put some lines on. It'll become more clear when we look at the game sheet. But I had to do some realignment stuff. So this is the rules for Village Emporium Orc Raiders, which is an expansion to Village Emporium that requires a copy of Village Emporium to play, so you have access to the rules and to the original tables, all of which are used in the game. So here we've got an overview of the adaptations I've made to the game sheet. And then we've got two main ways that the presence of the orcs can affect your game and make it more challenging. Or at least that's the intention. It does require some fine tuning. So as with my previous games, I will be looking for playtesters. I'll see if I can find out who did the original Village Emporium playtesting for me, because they were fantastic. But if you want to get involved, again, email me at loneadventurerplays@gmail.com. So there's two main ways the presence of the pesky orcs can make running your Village Emporium more difficult. So a band of orc raiders has established a camp near your town. The Orc Raiders will be led by a chieftain. There are 6 chieftains to either choose from or to randomly roll for, and each one has a different effect on the gameplay. So for example, let's pick a couple at random, shall we? 2 is Bashug the Vain. Bashug has it in for traders. Every time you visit a trader, roll 1d6. On a 1 or 2, one random item at that trader is no longer available. So you would have to cross that item out and you would never have access to that item again. Let's have one more chieftain. 5 is Zagath the Pesky. Zagath's orcs are constantly bothering travellers. Out-of-town customers are increasingly scarce. Whenever you serve an out-of-town customer, roll 1d6. On a roll of 1 or 2, another customer will never visit your emporium again. Cross off a random out-of-town customer. Alright, maybe that one's a little bit too wordy. They're not all on a random roll, but a few of them, something bad happens on a random roll, and some of them it's just a constant effect. Then I've got a little note on how I think random rolls should work, because we haven't had random rolls in Village Emporium before, and I want the game to be accessible to people who have not played many of these kinds of games before. So I've taken some time there to add some notes. And then as you play, you will also be completing an additional action each round, which is the Orc action. And for that action, you'll be rolling 2d6, adding the numbers up, and looking on this Orc action table here, which you can already see I've started to move things around a little bit, to see what the Orcs are up to at that particular time. For example, if you rolled between an 11 and 12, I've moved these round, so 1, 2, that'll be the one marked 3. You will cross out a single plains or forest location because the orcs are burning the countryside, and that location you will no longer be able to forage. You might notice that this table goes all the way up to a value of 18 at present, and that is because certain things that you do whilst playing will increase something I've called the raid risk tracker, and that raid risk tracker will be added on to your roll when you're doing the Orc action, and so the more risk you have taken, the greater the likelihood that you will roll a high number. So actually let's look back at this for 1 second. So for example, if you roll a 15 to 16 at the moment, your assistant quits. So you may hire a new one for the remainder of the season if you wish. And actually I'm thinking that's almost not quite mean enough. So I'm thinking about having the assistant also steal some coins from you when they quit, possibly. And then if you roll a 17 or 18, the orcs raid the Emporium and you have to cross out all stock of one type and reduce your coin by 2. So the more risk you take, the more tricky things become. And here's the game sheet, and it is very, very similar. It is essentially the same. I have also made some changes to this since I last showed it on screen. The font for all the titles has been updated. Actually, let me get, this is the one that I've used already in my playtesting, but I have sorted my printer out a bit since then. I'm sure I have one without any lines on at all. There it is, that's better. I have also added these checkboxes. Oh, and actually, the little circle tracker things here and over here, I've replaced the circles that I drew using Affinity Publisher with hand-drawn circles. And then I've also added in these checkboxes, and they are hand-drawn as well. I just thought it would be nice to sort of double down on the hand-drawn aesthetic of the game and just make sure that there's hand-drawn elements wherever I feel like will benefit that aim. And part of the reason why I've added these checkboxes into the upgrades and the out-of-town customers is because it makes sense to actually have a box to tick, because you always had to tick there and there, and so now it's just a bit clearer that you have to tick there. But also your out-of-town customers could become unavailable through one of the Orc chieftains like we just saw, and if that happens you have to cross rather than tick. And it's just a little reminder of that mechanic. So I've done that. The shop area remains exactly the same. The upgrades have changed a little to provide ways to mitigate some of the effects of the orcs. So for example, you can now get staff uniforms. Were the staff uniforms already in it? Maybe they were, but I've added an additional effect, which is your assistant won't quit. So that means you won't have to rehire your assistant, and it means that they won't quit if you roll a 15 or 16 on the orc action table and it says your assistant quits. That won't happen. What else have I done? The pet mimic now prevents raids on your emporium, where previously it did nothing. And the lucky charm was already there, but now it, as a one-time effect, reduces the raid risk tracker by, oh, it says 2. I feel that's quite generous. When I played, I did it by 1. Okay, so we've got those changes there. Then over here, we've got a few changes. The things that were there, what were they called? Haggle and Eagle Eye points. Those are gone now, and they are replaced by this orc section where you track your chieftain, and you can make a little note in there about the mechanical effect the chieftain has on the game if you wish, and also the raid risk tracker, which I have taken up to 6 points. Here it's 5, so currently it's to a maximum of 6. Don't know if that's going to stay, we will see. And for each of the traders, we've got these little check boxes next to them, because if you visit them more than 3 times, there is a risk that your raid risk tracker increases as the orcs become aware of your movements. And then the map has changed ever so slightly as well. There's going to be an orc camp in this square here. At the moment it just says orc camp, but I'm going to draw a little orc camp in. And then there is a bonus for foraging near the orc camp. If you choose to forage near the orc camp, it might increase your raid risk tracker, but there's the benefit of having extra rolls of the dice. So the bonuses that were previously scattered around the map have all coalesced around that orc camp to encourage you to take that risk. So that's pretty much it, really. I've kept it quite simple. I mean, if people have good ideas, I don't mind adding a little bit of additional complexity, but I'm quite keen to keep the rules as they were previously to 2 sides of A4 paper. I mean, that did originally include the local customer and foraging tables, but I separated those out onto a different sheet just so I could increase the spacing and make everything a little less squished up. But yeah, so I want to ensure that I keep the rules for this expansion to the same size as the base game rules, because I'm keen that this remains a game that is very accessible and very quick to pick up. A lot of games like this, roll and write, print and play games, the mechanics of them are perhaps a little more complex than the gameplay requires or deserves. Not always, and I'm not adverse to complex roll and writes, that's absolutely fine, that's just not where I'm going with this one. So at the moment it's 3 sides in a Word document, and I don't want it to get much longer. But that said, I know that playtesting is important. Now, when I played this myself, played it a couple of times, but the most recent time, and I think this is the most I've ended up with, my raid risk tracker got up to 3. I think I just forgot to tick that off. So I think I visited all the traders at least 3 times. Now, at the moment, when you take that additional risk by visiting a trader more than 3 times, each time you have to roll a d6, and on a 1 or a 2, the raid risk tracker increases. And the same for if you forage near the orc camp. Now, initially I was going to say, oh, if you do that, the raid risk tracker just goes up automatically. But I think I realised that that was just too aggressive. But maybe a roll of 1 or 2 on a 6-sided dice is a little bit too generous. I was thinking of upping that to a 1, 2 or a 3, so it's a 50-50 chance. but I think it's only through playtesting that I'm going to find out whether I'm being too mean or not mean enough in that sense. Maybe I need to increase the number of raid risk tracker points that you can get to. Maybe we need to decrease the amount of visits you can have to each trader to 2 before you start risking increasing the raid risk tracker. Yeah, maybe the things on the 2 tables are not quite mean enough. I don't think they're too mean. If anything, they probably need to be adjusted upwards. So playtesters, give me a shout. So there we go. That is the Village Emporium Orc Raiders. Just to give you a little idea of my design process and how I've been thinking about making this expansion. It has been fun. I worked on it over Christmas, and it's nice to be able to get something done moderately quickly. Never as quick as you think it's going to be. Like, I thought, I had in my brain essentially what this was going to be, and I knew roughly how much text it was going to be and the mechanics that were going to be involved, and it still took like quite a few hours, at least for me, to get all of this together and to adapt the game sheet and to think of the changes to the upgrades and to think of the different orc effects for the chieftains. It all takes a while, and this is a small game. I will get back to my larger games eventually, but it's hard to fit these things in, and it's nice to get something done. So hopefully, if I can get this in front of some playtesters, I can finish up the design myself, put this into a proper publisher document, get it all laid out nicely, then get it up onto itch.io or whatever, and all that sort of thing. Plenty more to do, but I'm well on the way, I think, to having my first expansion to Village Emporium. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. If you did, please do like this video and drop a comment below letting me know what you think about this new expansion for my game. Otherwise, thanks for making it this far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.